introduced a new initiative in Chutti Mithran. For every chess video we make, we are going to give you a chess puzzle to solve at the end. If you know the correct answer, then please post it in the comment section below. The puzzle would really be helpful for all chess players ranging from beginners to advanced. So, what are you waiting for? Let's learn together. Hello friends, welcome to Chutti Mithran. Welcome to a chess game that was played by world number 2 Fabiano Caruana against world number 3 Liren. This game was played in the London Grand Chess Tour and Fabiano Caruana has the white pieces. Fabiano Caruana opens the game with pawn to e4 and Liren plays c6. The Caro-Kann defense is on the board, pawn to d4, pawn to d5 and here a trade occurs in the center. E captures d5, c captures d5, bishop to d3 and black goes knight c6. Now the knight is attacking the d4 pawn, pawn to c3 and black plays queen c7. It might seem like a more prudent move to play knight to f6 but then white can immediately play bishop to f4. So after c3, black goes queen c7, the queen keeps an eye on that f4 square, pawn to h3. White would always like to play knight to f3 but black has some ideas with bishop to g4. So first h3 was played, knight to f6 and knight to a3. White wants to attack the c7 queen with knight to b5, black goes a6, knight to c2 and g6. Knight to f3 and here I bet most of you would have been thinking black would play bishop to g7, right? Well, after knight to f3, black first goes bishop to f5 and here he's attacking the d3 bishop. If you go bishop takes f5, then after g takes f5, yes, you do mess up black's pawn structure. But the idea is black has an open file for his rook. Black can play e6, bishop to d6 and after knight to e4, it would be black who is on the verge of the advantage. So after bishop to f5, Fabiano wisely plays bishop to e2. This is in fact the best move. Pawn to e6 and white castles. And after castles, once again, Liren does not play bishop to g7. Immediately, first he plays h5. He claims some space in the king side. And after h5, knight c e1. White wants to go knight to d3, bishop to d6 and as planned, white goes knight to d3. Knight to e4. Black gains the center outpost for the knight and after bishop to e3, I would like you to pause the video for a few minutes and try to come up with the move that Liren played in this position. Well, you must note that black has developed all his pieces, the d6, the f5, the c6 knight, the e4 bishop, all of them are very activated. So, the queen is also activated, so you must develop your rooks. How would you develop your rooks? You must always castle. But that's the question. Will you play kingside castle or will you play queenside castle? Liren plays queenside castle and the idea is after queenside castle, the king is much more secure on c8 than it would be on g8. And the idea is simple. Black just wants to play rook g8, g5 and g4 and it would be a very hard time for white defending this position. So after queenside castle, rook to c1, white wants to push c4 and pawn to g5. And here is where Fabi blundered the game with knight takes g5. Knight of e5 would have been a better move, but okay. White goes knight takes g5 and black immediately plays rook d g8 attacking the knight. Idea is after knight takes e4, black would go d takes e4 and after knight e1, bishop takes h3 and now it's just lost for white. g3, bishop takes g3, h takes g3, queen takes g3, king to h1, bishop to g2 check, knight takes g2, queen takes g2 is a checkmate. So Fabiano calculates all this. He plays f4 but this is once again a blunder. After f4, Liren misses this rook takes g5 move. Idea is after f takes g5, bishop to h2 you give a check, the knight covers the f2 square, king h1, knight to g3 check, king takes h2, knight takes f1 and there is a discovered check. So after king to g1, black just goes knight takes c3 and this is a completely winning position for black. Black has 3 pieces, white only has 2 pieces. But after f4, I must say that both players were severely under time pressure and Ding just plays knight to g3, and this is in fact the second best move. After knight g3, black is attacking the rook. So rook to f2, pawn to f6, the pawn is attacking the knight, knight to f3, and now Ding just brings it back, knight to e4. After knight to e4, Fabi says, the rook is more important to me, and he plays rook to f1, and it was a complete blunder. Black immediately plays bishop takes h3. He's attacking the g2 pawn and knight f e1. White defends the g2 pawn, h4. Idea is, if you go for a slow move like c4, then d captures c4, rook captures c4, bishop takes g2, knight takes g2, and after h3, you cannot move the knight due to the pin. You must sacrifice something, knight f e1, h takes g2, and this is a completely winning position for black as white's king is very weak on g1. But okay, after h4, white goes king to h2 instead, and I'm pretty sure that most of you would have been expecting bishop to f5. But Ding, with a cool head, plays queen g7. And the idea is you cannot capture the bishop. King takes h3 is met with queen to g3, checkmate. If you go g takes h3, then queen g3 check, king h1, queen takes h3 is checkmate. So you can see the power of this rook on this file. After queen g7, white goes bishop to f3, but it's all over. I would like you to pause the video for a few minutes and try to come up with the best move for black. After bishop to f3, Ding just plays bishop captures g2, and that's it. If you go knight takes g2, queen g3 check, king h1, h3, and it's just dead lost for black. After knight e1, queen g2 check, knight takes g2, h takes g2, the rook is covering the g2 pawn, the rook is hitting the king on h1, so after king g1, rook h1 is a beautiful checkmate as the knight is covering the f2 square. Of course, it would have been a true spectacle if it did occur in the game, but after bishop takes g2, Caruana plays the best move, which is bishop takes g2. But once again, it's over. Queen g3 check, black checks the king, king to h1, and queen takes c3. So what has black gained? Black has gained a pawn, but that's really not something to worry about. Black is threatening h3, and after bishop to f3, knight g3, and it would be game over. Caruana tries rook to f3. He thinks that after rook to f3, queen to d2, queen takes d2, knight takes d2, he can at least hope for something, but after rook to f3, Caruana allowed a truly magical finish. I would like you to pause the video for a few minutes while I give you a couple of seconds. After rook to f3, you don't really need to play queen to d2 and exchange queens. You just push h3, and this is what Liren played, and after Caruana saw this move, he shook his head very sadly and he resigned the game. Why did he resign the game? Well, if you go rook takes e3, I'm pretty sure that most of you would have seen this. H takes g2, the same idea as we have discussed earlier, works this time as well. The rook is covering the g2 pawn. Once again, the rook is giving a check to the king. The pawn is also covering the king. So after king g1, rook h1 is once again a checkmate as the knight is covering the f2 square. So after h3, if you go rook takes h3, then rook takes h3, bishop takes h3, queen g1 is a checkmate. There's just nothing else to do. If you go bishop takes h3, then queen g1 is an immediate checkmate. So after h3, you cannot really do anything. Caruana saw this move and he resigned. Well, what a brilliant miniature, my friends. And I would like to end this video by telling you a short lesson. If you have a space advantage on one side, then remember to castle on the other side. In this game, Liren had a huge space advantage in the king side. He castled on the queen side and then he started attacking with his pawns. I hope you learned your lesson. Thank you for watching the video till the end, friends. I will be visiting you with more chess videos on opening chess traps, puzzles, in-game strategies very soon, so subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss any of my future content. Thank you and have a great day, friends. Hello. As I've told you before, this is the chess puzzle. It's White's move to play. The concept of this chess puzzle is not to checkmate your opponent but rather material gain. Pause the video for a few minutes and try to come up with the best move while I give you a couple of seconds. Okay, if you have found out the correct answer, then please do post it along with the analysis in the comment section below. Let's learn together.